are.
Hey guys.
Okay.
Oh, that'll be about a minute back. So.
Oh.
Is it? Oh, okay. So we're on now. Hi. Welcome to SparkFun After Hours. Except it's totally decent hours. And family oriented, I promise. Here's Nate.
Hi, Pete.
When you say here's Pete.
Here's Pete. They know who you are.
Waka. Come on, man.
Hello.
So hi and welcome. Let's see. So we're doing this Ask Me Anything again. And let's see. Welcome everyone who's watching, which is a few people showing up. Okay, cool. I guess to start with, we're just gonna hit the questions that were on the blog.
What do we do?
Of course, sir.
Founder and CEO of SparkFun Electronics. I've been at this for almost 12 years. Shocking. SparkFun's been around for 12 years.
You're telling me, man. Director of Engineering. I have been at this for nearly 10 years, so long time. Yeah, and that's us. We're good there? Okay, we're taking direction from Greg because he knows things better than we do.
I copied this guy's homework in Circuits 1.
No. You gave me the... I owed him a favor. A big favor.
Went to university together.
I sat behind Nate. It was crazy. I was the old guy. I was one of two old guys. I think we told that story before. All right, let's hit the question. So we're on the blog. And the very top question, I'm going to get this. When will, according to Pete, be getting back? It really helped us a lot, learned a bunch of things, blah, yeah, okay. December 8th. I talked to Greg about it, and it was just, as long as I don't set a permanent date, I can just blow it off indefinitely, it seems. So I'm setting a deadline. I'm going to be out over Thanksgiving, and I'm going to prepare some material, and then the next week, that following Thursday, Greg and I are going to record, and then that following Monday, which is December 8th, will be the ultimate grand return of According to Pete, which you all apparently want much more than I do, but it's going to be a good thing. It's going to be fun, and to be honest, I am eager to get back to it.
What are you going to be talking about?
I think I'm probably going to go back to the differential pair, the transistor differential pair, because I actually had a video all set up at the time where I just went prima donna and went, I've had enough, man. But I had all the material set up. I had the circuit set up. I even understood how it worked, so that was really an advantage. So we're going to do that. I'm going to do a differential pair out of a couple of 3904s and a couple of different configurations, make some stuff up, probably tell some stories, do a little song dance, a little seltzer down the pants. Very good. How that goes. So December 8th, mark your calendars for better or worse. We're going to do it again. And that's that. Let's see. You want to... take one there.
We got questions.
Yeah, we got.
We just read them
so this is like the next one down. So this is actually a pretty cool idea, I think.
Yoda Obi-Wan, what would you think of putting together a project box competition, sort of like the dumpster dive, where you drop random parts into a box. Each box would be the same parts, and have a contest on who could make the coolest project from the box, judging by you say 4 times a year. That would be a lot of fun. I wonder. Okay, so what if we did that? What would be the types of contests, or what would be the types of things we'd throw into the box? So I don't think it would be sort of like dumpster dive, except it wouldn't be like broken parts necessarily, right?
Don't make any promises you can't keep.
Oh no, that's fine. Totally. But I mean, so if it's conductive thread and a serial LCD and 3 RGB LEDs, go, right? And what's the coolest thing?
What, do you think they should be themed? Or maybe, well, you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, for this quarter, we're going to do IoT. That's an obvious one, but we could do like weirder things. Yeah. Like we should categorize them a little bit so that it's just not random. Otherwise, nobody's going to be able to judge what cool is.
I'm more interested in sort of the nature of the box that you put the stuff into. right? So if the box is part of the contest, like if you have to use the thing that it ships in as part of the contest,
you have to use everything we give you
everything.
in a thing.
The bubble wrap and the included materials. Yeah, I don't know, but no, that's a very cool idea. That's a cool idea for a contest. The thing that always scares me about contests is that it's kind of like having a party at your house, right? You're gonna invite all your friends, and you're gonna get all this food, and you're gonna cook all this stuff, and then that first 5 minutes after 7 o'clock, whenever the party was supposed to start, nobody's there.
Yeah,
it's always the worst. And I'm like, okay, if we have a contest, I'm worried that I don't know if we can get enough people. So
that's true.
It'll be cool.
Well, throw a party and nobody comes.
We'll throw a contest, and plenty of people will come.
Somebody will come. That'll be cool.
Might be a good one-time video. Yeah.
Well, that would be pretty sweet.
Cool
let's
idea.
see.
Thanks, Yoda.
Let's see. Pyro FX, getting a jump on the questions. Your fluffy questions. How are you liking your new digs? And did you get enough space this time? Well, we're digging the digs. We're having. I mean, I don't know how much of this you can actually see. This is the engineering area. We've definitely had an upgrade, and we're slow to actually fill it with actual furniture. We have my free couch that Nate was just yelling at me about. We don't know where it's from. Anyway, but we are. I think so. The other departments are settling in. What's your experience?
Dust is settling, liking the new digs. Just a word of wisdom for anyone thinking of building a building. It's just not for those with OCD. So it's never done, and it's been going on for 18 months now, and we're still trying to make like the other employee entrance. Still doesn't work, right? Like the lock on the door is like still broken, and they're still working on it. It's just like, what does it take to fix the door? So it's just taking a really long time. But thankfully, we're up to speed, and we're shipping things, and we're building things, and we're designing new boards. So that's really, really nice. In general, it was really, really beneficial. I'm really liking this new building.
People are clamoring for a building tour video. I see on some of the comments. I'm flipping back between yesterday's blog post and the comments currently.
You can tell them it'll come as soon as it feels a little more settled than this.
As soon as it feels a little more settled, says Greg. And then we will have the building tour video.
That should be like 4 or 6 weeks once we get that video out there. The problem is that nothing stays the same at SparkFun. Right? So if you're waiting for things to settle, it's like
it will never settle. It will never settle. It never does.
We're in. It's going good.
So let's see. A few of the comments. I'm not going to bake a turkey. How to brew a winter lager. That's a good idea, but probably for a different show. Let's see. We'll get to some of these other ones. Marcus, I see you in here. That's a good question.
Can I tell them about a project I want to do in the basement?
Oh, absolutely.
So, new SparkFun building. I don't know how many people know that we've got a stream running underneath the building. So we've got groundwater at like 10 or 12 feet down. So we have some massive sump pumps in the basement that pump like 200 to 300 gallons per minute. Not per hour, per minute. An astronomical amount of water to keep our basement dry. What can you do with water in Colorado? Well, you'd think that you could irrigate the lawn with it or your garden with it. Nope.
No, give it up to the state.
You have to. It's the farmers own it, so you have to pump all the water out of your basement into the ditch so that the farmers can have it down the way. They own the water. Makes sense in Colorado, but what we're looking into is could we use the water to chill, say, wort? Whenever you're making beer, you have to get it up to a certain temperature, and then you have to cool it back down, right? So as long as we have a tremendous amount of 55-degree water, so one of the ideas was to set up that copper coil that you use to chill. So you can pump the water through it and then back out to the ditch and change it by half a degree. Right, you'd heat it up by that much water flowing through.
It's got to be a law against it.
There's got to be a law against it.
Against it.
Well, yes.
It's a good idea, though.
Anyways,
I would definitely advocate
beer
for something
brewing in the
like
basement,
that.
hopefully.
So let's see. And then the serious question from Pyro FX. When selling small doodads that can range from a couple of cents to something high dollar like a dev board or breakouts with a very expensive single part, how do you figure a price that is a fair deal for both parties yet leave some profit in it for SparkFun? That's something we've struggled with for a very long time to get right. because we have to, the fact of the matter is we are in a business, all right? We want to do good things for humanity and for students and for everyone involved in this and who has a desire to play with electronics, but at the same time, we've got a lot of mouths to feed, so we have to strike a balance.
It's pretty much like 2x, 1.7x on resale items, and then between 3 and 4x on in-house built items. So if all the SparkFun boards you see, that we take the bill of materials and we multiply by roughly 3 to 4x. That covers the cost, the labor to put the thing together. That covers the Pete's design time and
tutorials, documentation, covers distributor pricing, educational pricing.
So to answer, I think this person's name is Lampy. To answer his question or her question, it's 3 or 4 times the BOM is a good rule of thumb if you're just getting started. But what these guys continually tell me is that it's 10 or 20% of the work just to make the board work. But it's 40, 50, 60% of your time documenting it and writing good tutorials and doing the support for it. So for all the engineers out there thinking about making their own products, absolutely go for it. But don't underestimate the amount of labor and cost of putting good documentation together.
Absolutely. All right, so let's keep on going. You want to do that one?
Gee, give me the 3-paragraph one. I love it. 2. I'm curious. I'm going to read this one. I'm curious how you made the transition to manufacturing boards in-house. Oh, I love this question. Did you just put some of your designs on your site and then man the soldering iron to quickly build them? Okay, so we're going to go way back in time. 2004, middle of 2004 is when I graduated from college, and SparkFun started to design little boards. One of the first designs I did was a USB to serial breakout, the CP2102.
Oh man, that takes me back.
So it's this little tiny QFN device. And it was awesome because it was the first USB to serial chip that didn't require an external oscillator. So I said, okay, let's put one of these together. And I taught myself how to hand solder QFNs. You can do it. You can totally do it. Hot air stations help a little bit because you can heat everything up and bump the IC. But I totally hand soldered 10 of these boards together. And I put them on the SparkFun website, I think, for $19.95 a piece. And when those 10 boards sold in a week and a half, I said, oh shoot, okay, I guess I've got to get some more parts out and hand solder all these things together, and it took me a couple hours. And then when those 10 sold in another week and a half, I was like, oh my goodness, okay, this can't be how electronics are made. So I started looking around, doing research on the internet, and in 2004, the only way to manufacture electronics was a pick-and-place line, right? You had to have everything. You had to have this multi-million-dollar assembly system, start to finish, to put these things together. And I didn't have that. I was still I had just graduated from college with a whole bunch of student debt. And so we started poking around. At that time, Polulu, they're a great company, they're still around. They still offer laser cut mylar plastic stencils. So I ordered a stencil from Polulu. I ordered my first panel from Gold Phoenix, and I kind of tried to figure out how to get this solder paste onto this board, because that's how everybody sort of did it. So I got the mylar stencil, solder pasted it, and we needed to reflow. We needed to heat the thing up to reflow it. And at the time, I had read about toasters, and I had melted some stuff in a toaster, so I was like, well, a toaster isn't working for me. And so then I tried a reflow oven off of eBay. I think I spent $800 or $1,000 on this big reflow oven, and brought it in, expensive shipping, and it ran on 220, so I had to wire it to the dryer outlet, which was wildly bad.
I'm trying to remember this piece of hardware.
This is all in the basement. This is that big,
I don't think I saw that.
It had the drawer that would slide out and slide back in, and it had the display on it.
Okay. I think I do remember
you
that.
Kick this thing on, and the lights in the rental house that we were operating out of would dim, right, and run for a little while, and it tried to do its little profile, and it would go ding, and you'd open up the drawer, the reflow oven, and you'd pull it out, and it was just completely caked and baked and browned, and nothing reflowed, and it was just a piece of junk. So we had just lost $800. What are we going to do? Well, I think it was my brother was working at the time, and he's like, well, let's get one of those pancake things. So we went to Target, and we got an electric griddle, an electric hot plate. And we said, this has got to work. So we stenciled it with the Mylar stencil, we placed the components, we put it on the hot plate, we turned it up to hot, and we stood there and watched. And after about 2.5 minutes, the solder paste turned to liquid, and we turned it off, and we had just reflowed those boards. It was crazy.
Everybody, quick, get the boards.
Everybody start making stuff. And so we wrote the tutorial. You can check it out on the SparkFun website, SparkFun hot plate reflow. And that's how we manufactured electronics for the next 2 or 3 or 4 years. Simply because we didn't have the money for the real equipment. So again, you don't need massive pieces of equipment to build electronics. You can build it in your basement with a $40 hot plate. We now have 3 pick-and-place machines and 2 reflow ovens, and a stenciling machine and a washing machine. We have all this equipment. You need all of that to build a lot of electronics. So it's only when you need to scale that you need to get the really big crazy stuff. So
And we're looking at more stuff.
We're looking at more stuff. Now I'm messing up your computer, but I think that was the question, is how did we transition from sort of manufacturing, curious how the manufacturing boards in-house? We definitely have started in-house and have always been in-house.
Remember Gramps that we picked up for like
that horrible
$2,500 or something like that?
$5 grand.
Was that much?
Yeah, we bought a reflow oven off of our old landlord, and it was really old and didn't work very well. But we didn't know that until we got a newer reflow oven, and it was so much better. So it really
didn't do a real profile.
We have
turn everything up to 11. Go.
And just hope. And sometimes it works. Sometimes. So what I think I've learned over the years is that used equipment works, but it takes a tremendous amount of time to learn. And then when we spent a little extra money, we definitely got a lot higher output out of those machines. So, did SparkFun just get going by iteratively growing from money, and you made back from the original $2,500? Yes, we are completely, it's called bootstrapped. So we pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We don't have any outside investment, so that original $2,500 investment has been turned over hundreds of thousands of times to where we are today. And so, we just did it all by ourselves. It's one way to do it. So that's what we did.
Here's a good one. In your opinion, our opinion, what are a couple of things that made your company so successful? To put it another way, what has gotten you to where you are today from where you were 10 years ago? Also, what is something you know today that you wish you knew when you started out?
These are fantastic questions.
What made our company so successful? Community. And I'm not just sucking up. Literally, Nate struck a note, and he was in the right place at the right time. Sucked me into it, and I was in the right place at the right time. And it's all about community. It's also about making useful contributions to the field. I would say there's a lot of things that I might question in this field these days, but as long as we stay focused on good, useful products, good documentation, and supporting the community, that's been a lot of our success, I think. Something that you know today that you wish you knew when you started out. I'll address that one myself, and then I'll hand it to Man here and see what he says.
Hot potato.
I'm not the sort of person whether it's engineering or my personal life, I'm not the sort of person who goes like, God, I could just do it all over again, because I look at it all as a learning experience. I would not be here today if I had not learned the lessons. I got tattoos, right? I don't even look at my tattoos and go, God, I wish I didn't have that skull and crossbones. You know what? I do have a skull and crossbones. It's right there. I could say, oh, I was young and dumb, but I'm not. You know what? I made a decision. It was a time in my life. I'm going to own it. And that's kind of how I look at our experience here at SparkFun as well. All of the technical growth, all of the production woes, all of the cease and desist, everything. It's been a trip. I wouldn't change it. What?
Are you saying tattoos are stupid?
No. I'm gonna stop there. Okay, it's your turn.
There's a lot of tattoos here. In fact, I think there's a pool going around SparkFun currently to get me a tattoo, which is very, very interesting. We'll see about that. Something you know today that you wish you knew when you started out. I would say that I wish I would have known how the nature of work would change across 10 years. Right? When I started the company, it was design the thing, put it together, make sure it works, and oh my God, ship it. Oh my goodness. It's to build more.
Done! Profit!
Yeah, profit. Yeah, and build more. And like, whoa, cool, what's the next thing? And then as we grew, it changed a little bit and then changed a little more, and I wish I would have known how much the nature of my work would have changed. I now design things, but it's so rare, and I do it so wrong compared to the way the procedures are.
What would you have changed though? Right? I mean, from any lesson that you could have taken, would you have chosen a different path? Would you have done something different?
Well, there's the alternate reality, which I don't know if it would be a better one, but the alternate reality where, you know, I'm locked in the back room with the rest of the engineers designing stuff. And I don't know if that would make me more happy or less happy, because the grass is always greener.
Oh, yeah.
Right? It's over. Oh,
I thought you were going to say barcade.
Barcade. Yeah, screw it all. Let's start a barcade. SparkFun barcade. That would actually be a really
That would
good
be
name
really
for
fun.
Barcade.
So, okay,
Video tour of the new building.
Yeah.
We'll get on that.
More video too. Should repeat after maker creates their. Ooh, yeah, that's a good one for you.
Or private investment and question out loud. After a maker creates a project, whatever it is, and has a successful Kickstarter or private investment and has the resources to scale the project to the consumer level. It's not a question. How does a maker do this for the electronic pieces of their project? Can SparkFun help with this? So I think they're asking how you scale or how you build a lot of a project. Other companies in the US that do this, any other thoughts that would be great? Okay, so I interpret this question as like, I've got an idea, I've got a good source of funding, how do I get it to scale? I don't know, you know, with the advent of Kickstarter and with all the new projects that are showing up on Kickstarter, my friend Zach Kaplan of Inventables is just finishing up they've got like a little 3D mill that they've raised like $650,000 last time I checked. Kickstarter is a great way to raise the funds, but then how do you actually build that?
You did a presentation on this.
Yeah, I called it the Valley of Despair, because to build 5 or 10 of something, we all know how to do that. To build 50,000 of something, we know how to do that, right? We go talk to a contract manufacturer wherever they are in the world. But how do you build 2,000 of something? It's actually very difficult. The way to do it, just learn from your peers. Talk to everybody you can. Come take a tour of SparkFun. We will share with you everything we ever know about how to do a Kickstarter and produce stuff. But there are hundreds of little lessons that we have learned over the years that it's very hard to sum that all together. The big takeaway is don't underestimate the challenge. Don't underestimate the cost. Don't underestimate the time. Even when it looks like a slam dunk. I mean, we have a homepage post about the 2,000 micro views. You know, we did the first 2,000. We got them out on time. We got them out ahead of time. They were great. They were perfect. Everything was going great. We then did the second batch of 2,000, and we programmed the bootloader wrong. We messed up the bootloader, so they were non-functional. It's just, you know, all these lessons that I wish there was a way to do a mind meld and share them all. Yeah, we'll keep communicating as much as we can. I guess there's contract manufacturers out there. You can do it yourself.
Yes. I feared that part of the question is, can SparkFun do this for me?
Yeah, we're trying to crack that nut. We're trying to figure out how we can work better with collaborators and how we can open up sort of our tool chain and wheelhouse to other folks. So if you've got any ideas or if you've got a good project that you want to work with us on, please let us know.
Okay, so going to the comments on the live feed, I acknowledge your existence, Chris. Okay, moving on. Glad to know you. Thanks for stopping in. Marcus is actually on, and he asked a fairly, Yeah, Marcus, what's it's in here somewhere. What's the future of IoT? And that's a really long conversation.
Love to hear your opinion of the future of IoT.
Are you sure? Ooh, I'm a curmudgeon. Okay, you ready to do this?
Shoot.
Let's do this. I will not lie to you. IoT scares the bejesus out of me.
What is IoT?
Internet of Things. It is this huge catchphrase of you're going to connect all your junk in your house up to the internet, and it's going to go to the cloud. Another spacey term that we use in everyday conversation, I can promise you. And there your data goes and does things.
So back in the day, I mean, the problem I think that I have with it, at least, is that it's for better or for worse, it's marketing that does a really good job of naming the same thing in a new way. So back when we started SparkFun, we sold these cellular modules from Telit, and they were marked M to M, machine to machine, and everything was all about M to M, and here we are. Oh, and the way that the devices communicated was on this thing called the internet, and now here we are 10 years later, and it's now M to M has been rebranded to IoT, and the way that they communicate is no longer the internet, they communicate on the cloud. Cool, fine, that's all great. As long as we get, the opportunity that I think us electrical engineers have and embedded systems folks, if the general consumer and the greater market is now into IoT because it's called IoT, fine. That gives us an opportunity to create some new products and hopefully have a heck of a lot more resources to create some new and interesting things. So while to me, part of me is like, it's just a rebranding of everything we've already been doing. If we've got more people at the table, cool, we can do some more cool stuff.
Absolutely, yes. My concern is not any of that.
Oh, you're concerned about the
I'm all
Skynet.
Conspiracy, Skynet.
Right, yeah.
I am not. I cannot think of a valid reason that I need anything in my house actually connected to the internet. And there's this little voice in the back of my head that says, when I do this, sooner or later, somebody is going to get a hold of that data and use it in some fashion that I haven't predicted.
Yeah, but if somebody asked you 30 years ago, 40 years ago, if you ever needed to carry a phone on your body, right? You'd be like, well, no, why would I need that?
I have absolutely been victimized by exactly the same thing, yes.
Okay.
And I can't live without my phone. And if Becky watches this, she's going to be like, I told you so. And she'd be right.
Yeah.
Right? I get busted for having my phone at the dinner table. I'm like, oh, sorry. And I put it away. But I have to stop short on some of this because I feel as though, I love technology. I've worked with it pretty much my whole life. But there's a point where I start to fear that it does become dehumanizing. Are we there yet? Probably not. I edge towards being a truly old conspiracy dude every year, a little closer. But it's a concern, right? I don't want to do the NSA's work for them. I don't want all that stuff there. I don't need all that stuff there. But I can understand why somebody might want to do it. It is fun. It is cool. When Fant went up, I confess, I immediately went, we just got a hamster, and I got a wheel, and I'm going to do this thing, and then, what stopped me was somebody already did it. I'm like,
yeah, but it was really cool.
It was really cool. I give you that, and I don't know what the NSA is going to do with my hamster data. I don't. For all I know, they're watching me. But that's... I don't want to run headlong into everything technology, right? I want to take the time to consider what are we doing here. And as someone else pointed out to me once upon a time, the only ethics training that engineers actually get are when they're cleaning up messes or they get, freshman something or other.
So I don't know. The general consumer is going to think about the Internet of Things as a Wi-Fi controlled light bulb. Awesome, that's fine. But I think from our perspective, the more, some of the best applications, one of the fun applications I heard of was in law enforcement. And there's more and more cameras to sort of evaluate things, but the sensors that they were putting on law enforcement officers was on the seatbelt clicker.
Yeah, I remember telling you about this.
So it was on, so they had a sensor, so when the police officer unbuckled their seatbelt, that sent an event trigger to be like, okay, this officer's getting out of the car. And then they had another one, I think think it was, on their holster buckle. So the police officer commonly unsnaps their holster. So that was another trigger. And then they had another sensor. How easy is it to have a read switch when they pull the weapon out of the holster? Then like a bigger trigger goes, bigger event goes off. And then if the officer ever falls down for whatever reason or motions in a certain way, all hell breaks loose, right? So I think there's some really nice things in different industries that are very, very subtle.
I would
add just some great layers. And also on the flip side, we can have more, supervision of the officers and better accountability, and it's good for everybody.
There are definitely good places for the technology.
Yes.
I'm just not convinced that my house is one of them.
Fair. Yes.
That's just me.
So there's an interesting question here about, I loved how they called it FTDI Gate.
Yes.
So if you're unaware, FTDI is a company that does the very popular FT232, which is it's a USB to serial IC. And I want to say 4 weeks ago, FTDI rolled out a Windows driver that basically detected if the IC was a counterfeit IC and would brick that IC. And the community really raised up against them, and all it was very bad for FTDI, and I'm kind of shocked by what they did. But from a business perspective, there's something called supply chain diversification that we should talk about. So the fact that FTDI did this means that it could really affect our product flow. We build a lot of products with the FT232 and other FTDI products, and after FTDI Gate, we kind of looked at it and we said, wow, what happens if FTDI does this again? We really need a backup vendor so that if FTDI goes off the deep end, there we go, then we have a secondary supply chain diversification. So Pete has been talking with Cypress and has some cool, it's like a drop-in replacement to the FTDI footprint, and so if we ever need USB to serial, so we should have some products coming out, I don't know, in the next 6 or 8 weeks that utilize this new part. So for you, the end user, it's not a big deal, right? It just does exactly what it's supposed to, USB to serial. But for us manufacturers, if we ever have an issue with this certain supplier, we've got a backup supplier.
To FTDI's credit, they did respond fairly quickly to that issue and set things more or less right.
But it shows what happens when you mess with your community.
It
Be
really does.
Careful with your community.
So yeah, I mean, we don't want to disrupt anything by doing a bait and switch with the FTDI chips, but we do want to offer an alternative, and we do have that in a Cypress part. So you will see some of those in the upcoming months, I expect. Let's see. Oh, Nate is hot. Good for you, buddy.
Look at that! Wow.
Well, his sound levels are hot. Oh, well, okay, thanks.
Never read the comments. Never read the comments. Hey, it's a weather station. Oh, it's a weather station.
It is a weather station.
Hey,
talk about the weather station.
You want to talk about the weather station? All right, cool. So I don't know if we've got the camera on the secondary thing, but cool. This is weather station. This is the second one I've built because we needed a weather station for the new building here in Niwot, Colorado. So at the top, we've got all the sensors, the anemometer, the wind direction. This is the rain gauge. This all connects down to the enclosure. So this is called a radiation enclosure. It's white to reduce all the thermal changes, and then it's actually open and slanted up on the side. So if there's rain coming down, then it doesn't go into the enclosure, but it is kind of allows for free airflow. This is a camera tripod that's got 2 cables that actually connect down to some concrete ballast. So we can tension all that up. The concrete ballast is about 50 pounds to hold this thing in place. And then we've got a solar panel, and all of that connects to the internals, the electronics that go inside. So inside, we've got the SparkFun weather shield. This has got a bunch of sensors on it, barometric pressure, temperature. We've also got a humidity sensor, but you can see that that's been wrapped in that white tape. That's Teflon tape. So we use Teflon tape to keep the water. I've had one incident where enough rain rebounded off the enclosure that water made it into and damaged that humidity sensor. So with this Teflon tape, that protects it. That's where the rain and wind gauges get get tied into. And then below that, you can barely see it because this whole thing is wrapped in saran wrap. It's the perfect poor man's weatherproofing material. I love this stuff. You got to have the sensors outside the saran wrap, but inside the saran wrap, you've got the electric imp and an Arduino Red board, the SparkFun derivative of the Arduino underneath that. So using this buildup of 3 shields, I can actually reprogram the Arduino over Wi-Fi. And then as we power this thing up, we've got a solar charger. We can reprogram the Arduino and charge stuff up. We've also got a prototype lightning sensor. So that's something that one of our engineers, Mike, has been working on. And I'm making that work. That's working pretty well, but it's still in prototype phase. So that may be a new product you see soon. But yeah, that's the weather station that's going to go up on the roof here in hopefully a week or 2. That's what I got. Yay, weather station project. It actually works from time to time. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. It's certainly impressive to look at, I can promise you that.
Yeah.
Is that connected to data.sparkfun?
Yeah, so once all this stuff is connected over Wi-Fi, it's actually reporting the data every 9 seconds to data.sparkfun.com. So you can check out the tutorial. This is a huge tutorial on the SparkFun website. Just search for SparkFun and WIMP. And WIMP stands for Weather Imp, because it's got the electric imp and it's a weather station. So the SparkFun WIMP, and it'll show you how I've got one of these on my house where I live, and it's has been reporting for the past 11 months now. So it's one of the most stable projects I've ever built. It's been working for 11 months, so it's been working really well.
Let's see. Sam Pratt, how have you guys handled the slap a coat of paint on it and sell one issue with engineering? Says he likes to continually tinker. You know, that's another long-standing thing where it's like, look, it's got to get out the door. We try very hard not to make stupid, incomplete products. At the same time, we realize that we can't all be Da Vinci. You know, there's got to be a line that you draw somewhere. And you try to hit like the 90th percentile, like this is going to be useful for as many people as we can get without going into the very small esoteric details that are not useful to the vast majority of people.
I learned a saying once upon a time. Fizzy actually learned it from that guy. Fizzy stands for screw it, ship it. And it's a policy, it's a tug of war between engineering and sort of business, right? So Pete is designing stuff, and if you give Pete, nothing against Pete, but it's like if you give an engineer 2 weeks to design something, you'll get to the end of the 2 weeks, and they'll say, yeah, you know, I did it, but if you give me another week, I can add so many features, and I can reduce the cost, and I can make it such higher quality, just give me another week. Okay, cool. So the business guy gives them another week, and you go to them a week later, and they're like, yeah, it's great, except I need like 3 more weeks.
It's so close.
3 more weeks, and I'll have the firmware done, and it'll be awesome. And pretty soon, it never ships. So I love the way you describe it, slap a coat of paint on it and sell one. I mean, there does come a point when you need to make the decision. At SparkFun, we make the decision basically as, you know, it has to do one thing well. What is that 1 or 2 things that weather board does or the solar charger does? Well, the solar charger has to charge LiPo batteries on a solar cell. Once it does that, everything is sort of extra feature creep. And so we really try to limit it to, you know, what is the core? Let's get that done. Let's make it really good, hammer that one thing, and then move on to the next product.
Oh man, the AC's coming on now.
Yeah.
Let me work off of that. We also iterate, right? Because everyone goes back and goes, we should have done X, Y, Z. If only we had known. So a lot of that will come, just so you guys all know, a lot of that will come from tech support, you know, when they talk to customers and they bring that to us.
Comments on products.
And the comments on the product pages are huge.
We read all of them.
So we definitely take those serious. So please continue that.
Time to plug a new feature on the website. This came out just a week and a half ago. We now have reviews on the SparkFun website, so we would love to hear from you guys. And if there's a product that you really, really like, and you know, this is great, it worked just like I wanted it to, blah, 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 please give us that review. And we're not afraid of negative reviews. We would love to hear all the positive reviews. We want to hear from you. But if something isn't good, if you had a problem with something, we would love to hear from you, and we're going to respond to those as well. So we've got a new review system on SparkFun.com, so check it out.
Only Little Mike says, can you tell us of the most challenging project you guys have done personally?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, that was my AVC entry, my second AVC entry.
Really?
Yeah. Oh my goodness, just the amount of whenever you build like full-scale projects that have to work in a competition, it's just like, oh my goodness, all the hardware prep and wiring, and it wasn't just the hours of assembly and getting the physical electronics to communicate, but then it was the weeks and weeks and weeks of firmware tweaking and standing out in a parking lot, hitting the enter key to make the car run and turn right and run and turn right and run and turn, and that it was so challenging that the day that second ABC ever, my vehicle failed to go around, and on the third try, it actually made it all the way around the course. I was done, right? That was it.
Retiring from ABC.
It was so challenging. So the ABC vehicle was one of the most challenging projects I've done.
That's a good one.
Tube amp.
Oh, I don't know. No, the tube amp didn't kill me, so that wasn't that challenging.
Sure, not done yet.
Oh God, the next iteration. If only I can get more time. Probably still Uber Tracker. A lot of.
What was the Uber Tracker?
The Uber Tracker was.
It was going to make us millions.
GPS tracking over cellular, right? It's like one dude working with a couple of other dudes. Like, oh, it'd be great if we did this, but we're not a huge company with tons of money and tons of research and tons of time, and there were much larger companies in that pool that just crushed us. But did bring it to fruition, did go through PTCRB certification. It did become a product, and that was really fulfilling, even though I don't think it made us a dime. So there was that. Yeah, probably that one. How are we doing here?
What kind of projects do you enjoy most?
Ones that I have a chance of finishing.
Yeah.
Although you don't want it to be too simple, right? You want it to be simple enough that it presents a challenge, but you don't want it to be so simple that it's like, it was one night.
The projects I enjoy most, there's a kids museum here in near Boulder. It's called WOW, World of Wonder, and I enjoy building projects for the Kids Museum, and the reason why is because there's different grades of electronics. We joke that there is hobby electronics, hobby grade, there's consumer grade, there is automotive grade, right, which is higher temperatures, higher temperature swings, harder on the equipment. Above automotive is military. And above military is space. Designing stuff for space is really, really hard. I put designing stuff for a kids museum in between automotive and military because it's motivated 8-year-olds will just destroy a project. So to be able to build something for a kids museum is like a really interesting challenge because one, it has to be educational, but two, it has to withstand the abuse. They're just energetic. They're not trying to be little vandals.
Yes, they are.
But we had to find anti-vandal buttons just so that they would survive longer than a week. So the types of projects I most enjoy are not just the, how do I get this sensor to talk to that thing because I really enjoy that, but it's also like, how do I deploy it or install it in a way that can withstand
address the real world.
Yeah, and folks can learn from it.
Yeah,
so, good projects.
That's a good one. Let's see. Determine what products we carry. Oof.
I'll let you field that one.
Wow. What products do we carry? Well, not an easy answer. Does it serve a need? Is it a legitimate need? Can we get decent pricing on it and bring it to customers in a meaningful way? Is it cool?
Yeah, Pete,
does it light up our eyes?
Here's this thing for $400. Right? It's like our customer base is really that $0 to $100. Anything over that is got to be pretty extreme.
It's pricing. We're definitely very sensitive to high price items because we come from being poor people and we don't want to spend that much money on stuff. And so we're always trying to get the coolest thing for the lowest price and yet still be able to feed everybody at SparkFun. So it's a trick.
What types of, like, how do you discover new technologies or new products?
Oh, well, we're constantly looking for one thing. All the engineers and a lot of the people in the company in general will go to events. They will participate in hackathons, or they belong to a hackerspace, or they go to, they're a judge at a science fair or something. And everybody reads Hackaday, and they all read all the tech rags. And so we keep our eyes very well peeled for the new technology and see where we can jump in, where we can do something meaningful, where we can add value, and when we get the opportunity, where we can lead. So, I don't know, does that sort of address it? What would you add to that?
Carrie, I also tend to discover potential products whenever I am working on a project. So it's one of those things where you're building said thing and you come across a sticking point. You're like, well, how do I hook up to that thing? And it would be really nice if there was a breakout board or a connector or access to that technology. It's what we've been doing since the very beginning. So the way that we discover new products is we build stuff, right? We consume our own things, and whenever we see a hard point, we design something to fix that hard point. Seems to be going well.
Marcus says you should describe FANT
What is
for
FANT?
everyone.
FANT is short for elephant, and FANT is an open source project that SparkFun deployed, I want to say 5 months ago. You can check it out at data.sparkfun.com, and it's an online data repository. So if you've got a little temperature sensor that's kind of, what do you do with that data that it's capturing every 10 seconds or whatever? Data.sparkfun.com is a place where you can store that data for free. And so FANT is the software that is the open source software project that runs data.sparkfun.com. So if you've got a small IoT device, don't say it. So if you've got a thing that needs to record its data, if you need to do data logging or post that data somewhere, check it out. It's a really nice little project that we've created, and it's out there for free.
Good. Let's see. Oh, this is a good one. Do y'all believe, this is from Channing Ramos, do y'all believe there is or will be an emerging market for small to medium scale manufacture in the United States?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you really think so?
Well, I mean, we need to crack that. Okay, so I'll give you an analogy. SparkFun did batch PCB for 7 or 8 years, and it worked well, but it wasn't our core business, and so we sold batch PCB to OshPark. OshPark is now killing it. They have figured out how to automate the placement of the boards. They figured out how to just make it so streamlined and so simple that they have figured out how to bring the cost of manufacturing down on printed circuit boards. I love OshPark. I order boards from them all the time. Now, I see the same sort of thing. The problem with contract manufacturers is they say, it's so difficult to set up these pick and place machines, and it takes so much time to do X, Y, Z, that it's really expensive for us to do a run of 5. Okay, but if somebody could figure out how to better connect, we use Eagle for our PCB layout software at SparkFun. So if somebody could figure out how to connect output Eagle, and they've already done this, but the XY coordinates of the components directly to the pick and place machine and have a standard set of components on the pick and place, there's ways to make it so that small and medium sized manufacturing, the cost of that can be brought down significantly. It's just not our core business. Our core business is designing little widgets. So I cannot wait for someone to crack that nut. I did a whole talk on this at the Hardware Innovation Workshop a few years ago. I hope that some company will figure this out. I think I got to give a shout out to our friend Bob Cogsall, who's running Small Batch Assembly. He's out in the Boston area, and he is I think he's at the hackerspace out there, Artisans Asylum. I'm not entirely sure. It may be one of the other hackerspaces out there. But for a very reasonable price, he can do 5, 10, 50-piece runs. So I think that's really going to open up that low end. But I'm wondering we need a couple other competitors out there to really compete and drive that cost down, and then come out with really cool features, just like OshPark has done. They've revolutionized batching PCB designs together. So I think somebody could do that for short-run manufacturing.
Very cool. Let's see. I think we're getting. Oh, here we go.
What is Marcus? What is data.sparkfun.com? It's the website that has Fant on it. You should check it out. You from your browser just type data.sparkfun.com. There's some cool examples out there.
Let's see. Yeah, this will go on forever, I think. Cool stuff coming out of our machine shop. No, currently. We have to get Matt up here to answer that one better, I think.
Yeah, we're working on some assembly line stuff for kitting. Should be kind of fun.
I think there's still a jet engine lying around down there too, but I don't think there's immediate plans for that yet.
No, except for that 2-story robot that they've been building. I don't know what they're doing with that, but it's just there'll be something.
Let's see.
Question. What do you think the future of Arduino? What do you think is the future of Arduino?
Oh man.
Ooh.
I'm not even. I don't even know how to address that.
The future of Arduino. Come on, I'll jump on that.
Okay, buddy.
The future of Arduino. I think so. They really revolutionized how you present embedded electronics to non-embedded electronic people. What I'm getting at is the digital media students, the art students, the creative types. I think they've done just wildly popular, wildly good stuff for our community, increasing it. They started with a certain chip, the ATmega. At the time, it was the ATmega 8. Then it was the ATmega 168. Now it's the ATmega 328. Doesn't matter. It's this chip. They've kind of expanded with now they've got I know they've got an ARM-based one. Mm-hmm. They've got the Intel Galileo, which is an Intel-based processor, an 8086-based processor. I mean, they keep adding more and more chipsets. They've got a TI board. Right, the I don't know if it's the Duo or the Trio or they've got a Zero coming. They've got all sorts of boards coming out. The point is that as they add more and more chipsets, they haven't yet, but I think they will soon, really tweak the Arduino IDE so that it can work with any chipset. And once it can work with any chipset, then, I mean, that's really cool because we've removed, the language layer from the chipset layer. And I think if Arduino could do that, that would be really, really great for our entire community. They'll keep designing boards and they'll keep doing collaborations and they'll keep doing good stuff. But I think they could really drive the community forward if they can help, design the language and the IDE separate from the chipset. We could see some cool stuff.
Let's see. Oh, dang it.
What do you got?
Hang on. Bear with us.
Yeah.
More automation in your manufacturing and inventory process?
Ryan. Okay, so Ryan's got a question about, he's taken a couple tours and he noticed that down in our production department, SparkFun is building more and more kits every day. And the way that we build kits is actually quite, what would you call it, archaic? I mean, it's very, very old where, we need 2 LEDs, 3 resistors, and 4 screws in this bag. And to this day, we've had a human that gathers those things and puts it in a bag, and we figured out all these amazing processes to do it very quick and right every single time. You don't want to get the Lego kit missing a block, right? That's just a horrible user interaction. So our kits have to be absolutely perfect every single time. And the problem is, to this point, we've used humans to do that, and they're really good at it, but we can't scale this much further. So Ryan, to answer your question, we are very excited about trying to figure out how to break open source hardware into the industrial automation industry. Whether that's, I envision sort of a device that you pour a bag of, through-hole LEDs into, right? The ones that are all stuck together, and you big glob of them. And then on the side of the machine is a button, and every time you hit the button, it dispenses 1 LED. Okay, now if we can make an open source device that does that, then we can string that together and kind of piece that together with controllers so that, dispense 2 of these, dispense 1 of these, and then we have a conveyor belt, and we can really get into some interesting industrial automation. There are robots that will absolutely kit you a thing. We've got quotes of about $150,000. And all they do is that one kit. Well, SparkFun doesn't have one kit. SparkFun has like 45 different kits. And so that model doesn't make sense. So yeah, SparkFun is very interested in sort of industrial automation and open sourcing that stuff. It's just tricky because we're few and far between the type of companies that need this kind of esoteric thing. But yeah, we would love to do more automation in our kitting department.
Design a product and then abandon it because the R&D was just too expensive. Oh, you feel like this one?
Sikio?
I was thinking into.
Oh,
I was going to say
into rowing. Oh, let's go there. Okay, cool. So my, let's see, back in the day, SparkFun started because I was on the rowing team and I really wanted to design this rowing amplifier. And it kind of appalled me to discover that there was only one company in the world that designed amplifiers for the sport of rowing. So this company had the complete monopoly, and I was like, that's just not right. I'm an engineering student. I can design a better amplifier for cheaper, and I can build this thing. So I started a company called Into Rowing. IN, the number 2 in rowing. And I think, I don't know, is the domain even around anymore? But it's, so we started this company, we started designing things, and my friends, we were at it for what, 6 or 7 years? And my friends would make fun of me. They were like, you're just throwing money in a barrel and lighting it on fire to warm your hands. And it was true. We spent all sorts of money designing this thing, and we just had no business. We had no background. We had no specialty in designing consumer-grade electronics. And so after 6 or 7 years, one of the hardest but best decisions I ever made was to just stop. Let's just stop doing this. Admit defeat, admit failure, and move on to something else. And you were there, right? That was a fantastic. The day of was kind of down, but the day after was fantastic.
Oh yes.
Because all you had to do was concentrate on SparkFun electronics. You didn't have this sort of schizophrenic sort of thing back and forth. So anyways, yes, we have absolutely experienced situations where the R&D costs were so expensive and it just ended up blowing up in our face. Luckily, we had SparkFun to keep us afloat while we made that very poor side distraction.
It was a good time still. It was. Let's see. Scott Perry, just because you're in there and 11141 is an indicator light. We don't make that thing. That's not our work.
Does it have a resistor inside hole? Draws 20 amps, 20 milliamps. So it's kind of. It must have a resistor in there somewhere. What's his question?
Are we going to make it in another color? We don't make it in the first place.
Oh, yeah.
But we could get some.
Yeah. If you want a different color, definitely let us know. Throw it in the comments. Send us an email.
We'll look.
Say, hey, this would be cool.
Look at that. See, we're all customer oriented, man. Check it. Let's see. SparkFun is really enthusiastic about open source. How did that all begin? Wow. I remember the conversation.
Which one? Do tell.
Well, there were a lot of conversations, but I remember this in the house.
The rental house.
The rental house,
way
right?
Back in the day.
It was like a Friday afternoon or something, and Nate's family makes wine. So he came up one day, I think it was like 2 in the afternoon, and I'm just like sweating over something. I don't know what it is. And you're like, let's talk. So he comes in with this bottle of really terrible wine.
Terrible wine.
Sorry, it was really bad, but I drank it. And he's like, what do we give people? And I said, we give them everything. And that went, it built from there. But I had come from this place where I was a technician, and I had to deal with manufacturers who don't want to give up data sheets and they don't want to give up information. And I got to find information, and it was such a big pain in the butt. And this started the conversation. And then we began to learn our liabilities and how our code was weak and how we could leverage the community by releasing everything that we had. And then it was some weeks later, you're like, let's give them the Gerbers. Let's give them all the Eagle files. And that one gave me pause for a little bit, but I'm like, I don't have a good reason not to. Yeah, let's do that too. And so it began as this just help everybody get as deep into it as they could or they wanted to.
How many things have we learned from other people's schematics, right? I learned how to control relays off of the Olemex schematics. And so this is valuable information that you can learn a lot from, and to obfuscate that or to sort of hide it or make it hard to find, that doesn't help anybody. It doesn't slow anybody down. So yeah, we sort of talked about, so it was like, let's put the schematic up there. Let's put the firmware up there so that if, and that was really for tech support because we couldn't handle tech support. And it was, we kept getting requests like, oh, hey, can you make this specific device, instead of running at 9600 BPS, can you make it run at 57600 BPS? Be like, yeah, sure. How about you do that? Here's the firmware. You can tweak it all you want. This was like 2004, 2005. There was no term open source hardware. It was just sort of like, oh, well, here's how we did it. Hopefully you can learn from it, and hopefully you'll buy one of these boards while you're looking. And it worked well. And then 2007, 2008, people started to get together and chat and talk about this thing called open source hardware. And then here we are today, where it's now we put that little Gear logo on all the boards. So whenever you see that Gear logo, you know that you can find all of the source files fully editable, and you can even take our source files, you can modify them, you cannot modify them, and you can sell them. So yeah, it's really, really beneficial for us as a company, and hopefully beneficial for you guys as well.
How do you balance being a jack of all trades without being a master of none when learning new skills? I'm still trying to figure that out. I got a wife and kids and a house, and I don't have the time I used to have, and so I'm desperately trying to keep up on all fronts. Nate's got arguably a little more time than I do, so how do you do it?
I'm realizing there's like a wonderful life lesson in there, where it's if you have to realize that you'll never know everything about everything, and the more that you can ask people to help you, like, wow, you're really good at designing boards, how about you design boards, and I'm better at writing the code, so I'll write the code. That specialization, that's what our society is built upon. So I'm sort of just, it took a long time to figure out how to release some things and not do it all ourselves, but that's how we've grown to where we are. So how do we balance that? I mean, there's some things that we really love to do, and that's kind of what we try to get people closest to. So whatever they're most passionate about and they're good at, if we can make those two worlds collide, things are good.
Just pick it up.
But no, I still love laying out boards. I still love designing stuff, and yeah, they can't kick me out of engineering fast enough. But whatever. All right.
Let's see. I don't know. How we doing, man?
I think
should we do one more?
It's been an hour. It's been an hour. I bet folks are getting tired.
You guys are getting tired of us, aren't you?
Tired. We'll do more. We'll do another one of these in a couple weeks, and
let's see.
Yeah, we'll keep answering questions.
Rewarding and challenging aspects of the big move, and how has the company culture changed
because of the big move? Okay, last question. So what I failed to realize, so we, construction phase was actually 15 or 16 months, and then I've been coming to the site every day, having meetings, talking with folks, figuring different decisions out. So I've been moving for 16 months. And then when the building was finally complete so that everybody else could move, I underestimated how much of a mental stress it would be on folks. So we moved all 150 people, all the inventory. It took 2 weekends and a whole lot of moving trucks. But in the end, it has definitely tweaked our culture, and we've had to kind of re-evaluate the culture. And one of the values that we used to have was scrappy, right? Used couches and not fancy furniture. Well, now we have this beautiful building. So how do we sort of reconcile that value of being scrappy against a building? And so it's Spartan. It's not
far.
Yeah, it's not luxurious, but
we're growing into it.
Yeah, so it definitely did kind of make us think about the culture. But I think every day that goes by, the dust settles a little more, and things are getting back into the groove. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot.
All right. Well, let's call it there. Guys, we got to draw the line somewhere.
Thanks for hanging out. That was fun. Thanks for coming to check it out. Thanks for all the great questions. And like I said, we'll have another Ask Me Another in a couple weeks. I think we're going to try to make this a regular monthly deal. So if you guys have questions that come up later on, please pose them on the next post or check out the next video.
Far out. Thanks a lot. See you next time.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.